Manchester United exploring their striking options from Victor Osimhen to Ollie Watkins. Chelsea signing or making headway in signing a new striker themselves seem to have a deal all but wrapped up. Also with Chelsea, they drop out the race for Andre Onana. Does that clear the way completely for Manchester United to swoop in on the Inter Milan goalkeeper? Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. Yes, it's an all New-Newz video or live stream that we got in store for you today, talking some of the biggest headlines from the world of football. I've got some headlines that I want to talk about and want to get your thoughts and comments and opinions on. But of course, use that comment section for anything that I'm talking about or anything that you guys want to talk about in the world of football. Anything and everything will be greatly appreciated there. I cannot wait to get into this one. But like I always say, we've got a lot talking to, but I would like to remind you to please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things always and would be greatly appreciated. I always love that and always love when you obviously get involved in the comment section as well. Do drop your thoughts, your comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, on any of the stories I'm going to be talking about or anything that you guys want to talk about in that comment section, in the chat. I'm sure we'll all make for interesting and great reading. So do get involved on that one. We're going to start things off, though, with Manchester United. We're going to talk Manchester United. We're going to talk their striking options, obviously, away from the pitch and everything. Their takeover does seem to be heading in the right direction. For United fans, it does seem that the takeover is nearing its conclusion. I would imagine that's going to be wrapped up within the coming couple of weeks or so, or at least it seems to be heading that way, at least, but it has been dragged out for a very long time. You would imagine it would be done and dusted sometime very, very soon, and that Manchester United can actually get down to the real transfer business and start actually making some transfers together. That's the hope of obviously United fans. And the one area in particular that they're looking at, we're also going to be talking about David De Gea, by the way, a little later, is the striker situation. Of course, I think there's a few areas of Manchester United that need to be improved upon and need to be looked at. Midfield, goalkeeper, defence. But the striking situation has obviously been an issue for United for some time now. And it seems that they've got a fair few options that they are monitoring the situations of, keeping on their radars and looking into as to boosting that particular area. There are 5 players that United are supposedly looking into right now as potential incomings this summer. A lot of money, though, allegedly, that's going to be possibly spent on them. I spent on just one option. Don't know how many options United are looking at trying to acquire in this window, but we'll wait and see on that one. Hey Ballum, how you doing, bro? Romeo Beckham lives in West London. House of David move to Brentford. Thoughts? It's tough. You would rather play with Messi into Miami or Premier League. David would have gone a match with Messi. If he's any good as his dad, then like I say, Brentford have got a real gem on their hands. But obviously he wants to test himself in a much more competitive league, clearly. And I would imagine that maybe his dad probably had some sort of influence on that one. So we'll have to wait and see. Jordan Hyman, hey bro, how you doing? Hope you're all good, my brother. Nice to see you in the chat and watching. So thank you very much. Hello, is this a daily live that's going to happen? And yeah, they will try for a striker. Yeah, I'm trying to do this regularly from now on. I'm going to try and make this a regular daily sort of occurrence, talking about just football in general and news. And I'll try and throw in a few videos here and there throughout the day as well. But this is what I'm going to try and do on a daily basis. Don't know how well that would do with my schedule, but we'll see how it goes. So far, it's going so well. So we'll see how it goes. But yes, talk about Manchester United and their striking options. So the 5 striking options that allegedly Man United are going for, one of them is Victor Osimhen. of Napoli, of course, fresh off of winning the Serie A title with Napoli this season. There's Randall Kolo Muani of Eintracht Frankfurt. There's Gonzalo Ramos of Benfica. There's Rasmus Højlund of Atalanta. And slightly more bizarrely, I would say, Ollie Watkins of Aston Villa. Now, that's no disrespect to Ollie Watkins, but it's not the kind of caliber of player that the previous four, or even kind of high potential, shall we say, that the previous four seem to offer in regards to that one. But of course, when we look at these players, we look at Victor Osimhen first and foremost. He's the one that's had a lot of interest surrounding him going forward, and rightfully so. He's obviously spearheaded the Napoli attack that has won them the Serie A title, like I said, won them the Scudetto. He's made 39 appearances in all competitions this season, scoring 31 goals and assisting 5 times. Fantastic return. He's been linked with the likes of Chelsea, for example, as a way of judging that one. Incredible striker, looks to be very promising. And at 24 years of age, the Nigerian striker has got several years ahead of him before he gets even into his prime, and then, of course, can wind down his career. The issue is his money. And a lot of these players are going for the same kind of ballpark figure. They're going for the same sort of triple digit, or at least what is it, nine digit figure, maybe eight digit figure, something along the lines of 80 to 100 million. That's what a lot of these players are going to be worth. Victor Osimhen could be that, and especially with obviously just winning the Serie A title with Napoli wanting to keep their talisman. It's going to cost them a lot of money to try and prize him away from this Serie A club. You look at Randall Kolo Muani, a lot of potential for this French striker who's 24 years of age. He made 46 appearances in the Bundesliga in all competitions this season, scoring 23 goals and assisting 17 times. He's looking to go for around about that figure as well, rumour has it. Gonzalo Ramos, 21 years of age, from obviously Benfica. He's Portuguese. He made 47 appearances this season in all competitions, scoring 27 goals and assisting 12 times. There's also Rasmus Højlund, the highly rated Rasmus Højlund of Atalanta. Not to be confused with Haaland. They sound a little similar in surname. But Højlund is Danish. He's 20 years of age, and he made 42 appearances this season, scoring 16 goals and assisting 7 times in all competitions. And then you've got Ollie Watkins. We all know Ollie Watkins, plays for Aston Villa, is 27 years of age, English striker, made 40 appearances in all competitions this season, scoring 15 goals and assisting 6 times. Whether the rumours of Watkins are true or not, allegedly from Laurie Whitwell of The Athletic, they are true. It's very interesting to see this going forward. Brentford B don't play in leagues only, friendly matches against other teams such as I reckon though he could move up though, right? I reckon if obviously Brentford see him play well, he could obviously move up through the ranks. So it could be interesting to see his development over time. I'm not 100% sure on him in general, so it depends. Chelsea won Jackson from Villarreal. Interesting to see what happens. Chelsea, who play in Fulham, want everyone. We will talk about Jackson. Don't worry, we will talk about Jackson later on in the video. Very intriguing developments on him from last night. PSG want a manager in ASAP for pre-season. You would imagine so. You would imagine that they want to get their pre-season preparations very much well and truly underway as soon as possible, and a manager is obviously going to do that. It's all right bringing in these players like Ugarte and like Asensio, but you don't even have a manager yet, which kind of baffles me in certain ways. And obviously with the Mbappe stuff going on and maybe Neymar leaving as well, it's a bit all over the place. Ollie Watkins' rumour is interesting, an English player that's homegrown, rules, etc., as we spoke about. Yeah, obviously that fills in the homegrown English quota. Of course it does. And obviously he is, to a certain extent, he is obviously Premier League proven as well. Is he the kind of player that I would have expected United to go for? Absolutely not. But he could be a cheaper alternative to a lot of these names that are on this list. Like, say, Atalanta wants something along the lines of £85 million for Højlund, supposedly. Ramos is going to cost them 80 million. Of course, he's coming from Benfica. We know how Benfica have conducted business in the past with Premier League clubs, and he seems to be another player in a long list of players in recent years that have come from that Portuguese league, come from Benfica in particular, to obviously join a Premier League club. We've obviously seen it with Darwin Núñez last season, how he left for 85 million euros. We've seen the likes of Ederson and Ruben Diaz leave Benfica in the past, along with a lot of other names as well, to join the Premier League. So Ramos does seem to be a similar name in that. Mawani is definitely a player that is highly rated for Frankfurt and for the French national squad in general. He's going to cost a lot of money. So we'll have to wait and see. And obviously, Victor Osimhen, like I say, he's going to cost a lot of money to get out of Napoli, having just spearheaded their attack to win the Scudetto for the first time in years. So we'll wait and see on that one. I won't be surprised if the striker Harry Kane stays at Tottenham. I expect him to. All I'll say on the Harry Kane thing is that it looks dead right now for him to go to Manchester United. And obviously, he was Manchester United's first option. So the reason we're talking about the likes of Osimhen, Ramos, Højlund, and Watkins is because Kane to Manchester United seems dead in the water. All I'll say is, don't be surprised if that saga reignites itself. I wouldn't honestly be surprised if it did, whether that be through Kane himself putting in a transfer request and actually showing some ambition for the first time in his career, or whether it be through the takeover, the Saudi takeover coming in and just throwing their money around. Obviously, there are reports that supposedly United's transfer budget isn't as huge or as major as what some may expect. But obviously, we'll wait and see whether that's the truth or not. Colo Randall, 23 goals is good, and a young French striker. Can you believe he was the player who had a chance in the World Cup final in the very end of 123 minutes, for example? I do remember there being a very good chance for France at the end of the game. Whether it was him or not, I don't remember, but I have to take your word for that one. Like I say, he's had a very good season for the Bundesliga side, Frankfurt. So he's done very, very well. Yeah, exactly. Højlund's name is very similar to Haaland, which I had to double check on several times. Romeo Beckham is a good signing for Brentford, English player and homegrown rule. Ivan Toney replacement for next season. 10 goals from him in the Premier League. Yeah, I mean, Brentford do need to have a look at something to get them over the line till at least January until he's back. So we'll have to wait and see what Brentford do. I think they've got other priorities right now. They've, of course, got to sort out this David Raya situation and then bring in a goalkeeper themselves. So it'll be interesting to see how they go about addressing their squad for the coming season. Manchester United, Old Trafford FC, who play in Trafford area in Manchester, releasing David De Gea, keeping Nathan Bishop, shows how smart they are in keeping third place goalkeepers English homegrown. Well, I don't think he's released yet, and we will get on to David De Gea a little later, so I'll save that for a little later, but I don't think David De Gea is released just yet. Happy birthday, Captain Henderson. I expect him to stay at Liverpool and retire at his hometown, Sunderland, in a few years. Personally, homegrown players for Liverpool and one of the few they have. Yeah, Henderson's going to stay. There's no doubt in my mind. Henderson is going to stay. Henderson will be moving to that James Milner type of role. He won't be starting every game, but he'll be there to provide leadership both on and off the pitch. He'll be versatile enough that he will probably have to be forced to drop into certain areas when called upon. And of course, like you say, he fits in with that homegrown English quota. So we'll have to wait and see. Did you see Trent's goal for England last night? Yeah, he was amazing last night. I did watch the highlights of the game because, like I said yesterday in the stream, not a massive fan of the England national team, to be honest. But at the same time, I thought Trent was absolutely excellent. I thought he was incredible. I thought he completely ran the show. And he capped it off with a fantastic goal. I know it was against Malta, so you can't really get too excited over that, but it does show extreme promise that this midfield position is working out for him, whether it be for club or for country. So long may it continue, and I cannot wait to see how he continues to grow and adapt and evolve in that position. De Gea won Golden Glove. Can you believe yet he could leave? Yeah, it was bizarre. I honestly did not expect De Gea to be the one to win the Golden Glove, and yet here we are talking about him winning the Golden Glove. The only issue is that when he makes a mistake, he drops an absolute clanger. He has an absolute nightmare. So it's more the high profile of the mistakes than it is him winning the Golden Glove. And for some reason, obviously United did, but United defense, they did tighten up last season. They did help him out a lot, and there were some moments where he was brilliant. But like I say, he started to make some absolute nightmarish mistakes that were costing United some games. And you do kind of feel that if there had been a few extra games to add on to the end of that season, maybe Liverpool might have caught up with United, or maybe caught up with just Newcastle. But obviously, that's all in hypothetical kind of situations. But yes, going back to the original point, Manchester United's search for a striker continues. Like I say, Harry Kane, I wouldn't be surprised if that saga reignites itself over the course of the summer. Maybe Kane shows some ambition, throws in a transfer request. Maybe Saudi money is going to be thrown around. We wait and see what kind of budget United have and what their plans are, because like I say, I think they've got a lot in that squad to address, and it's going to be interesting to see how they spend their money, where they spend their money, and how they do it wisely. But like I say, they need a striker. That's something that they suffered with this season, and arguably could have won even more games and maybe challenged the likes of Arsenal and City had obviously they had a striker that could actually put the ball into the back of the net on a more consistent basis. Martial, injury prone, isn't it? Weghorst came in January, works hard, but for a striker, his shooting's awful. So that was so as much as that kind of sort of worked out in a way, because people thought he was going to be the striker, and sort of Erik ten Hag brought him in and adapted him into a sort of target man that could work hard in that position and be a link-up man. Obviously, the amount of goals didn't quite pan out over time, but he had to work within what was a very limited budget at that time and what was a very limited kind of source of finances, basically, to bring in someone like Weghorst, someone he knew, someone he could work with. And now it's time for the upgrade. And that upgrade could be one of these 5 strikers, depending on the money that's available for United. But it is going to cost them an arm and a leg and maybe even a kidney to maybe get at least one of these players through the door at Old Trafford this summer. But like I say, a lot of what Manchester United's business, or what we'll see from Manchester United's business this summer, I think relies heavily on this transfer, on this takeover going through. And it has to go through ASAP. There's a lot of clubs that are doing business very, very quickly, that if United aren't careful, and it's not anything to do with United, it's the Glazers that are dragging this out, trying to squeeze as much money as they can out of this sale, they could get a little bit left behind. You already see Liverpool trying to make moves, Chelsea trying to make moves, City obviously strengthening, Arsenal trying to get big deals over the line. You do worry that United might get a little bit left behind at the beginning, and then they'll have to play a little bit of catch up, which money will obviously provide a big opportunity to do that. But we'll have to wait and see on United, their takeover, their transfers. But this one could be very interesting. And we'll get on to United Oh, to hell with it. Let's do the United again right now after I just go through these comments. I thought Morta goalkeeper was too forward for the Trent goal, bad positioning. Maybe, but don't take away nothing from a great strike from Trent. Absolutely quality strike. And maybe the goalkeeper's positioning could be looked at. But not a lot of players would have probably hit the target from there, or maybe not as got it as into the corner as he would have from that kind of position. So quality strike, and obviously I'm going to try and big up Trent as much as possible. But at the same time, yeah, I somewhat agree. The positioning of the goalkeeper was poor, but like I say, it's what you get on international football when you're against these, with all due respect, minor teams that are just 9 times out of 10 there to make up the numbers. As harsh as that may sound, it's the truth. I'm off to make a brew, cup of tea. I'll be back later if you're still going on live. Good to talk. What's his name? Onana. Yeah, the Rihanna song. Yeah. If Onana comes in, will Mendy goalkeeper leave? Yep, nice talk, bro. If I'm still doing this and however long it takes you, then fair play. But nice to talk to you, bro. We are going to get onto the Onana situation because the intriguing thought last night is that allegedly Chelsea have dropped out of the race for Onana. According to multiple sources, allegedly Chelsea have dropped out of the race to sign Onana, and this could open the way. It could potentially leave the runway open, shall we say, for Manchester United to make their presence known on this situation. We have obviously heard rumours that United are interested in a goalkeeper. United are interested in maybe Onana himself. But Chelsea was seemingly in pole position to do that. And they had a bit of a pull as well because allegedly Inter were in talks with Chelsea. Chelsea were in talks with Inter. They had a bit of business to sort out between those two, and in regards to a few players, the likes of Koulibaly, the likes of Romelu Lukaku. But allegedly now, Chelsea have dropped out of the race to sign him. Does that mean the Koulibaly deal is maybe off as well, or could something still be struck there for Inter Milan to take Koulibaly off of their hands? Only time will tell on that one, of course. But the goalkeeping situation for me is interesting for both Chelsea and United. Chelsea obviously looking for a goalkeeper because everyone seems to believe that Kepa and Mendy are going to be leaving this summer. Personally, I think Chelsea have got too many holes to plug for them to be losing both goalkeepers. One goalkeeper leaving, I can see that definitely happening. The other one staying as maybe the backup goalkeeper is more likely because, like I say, everyone's seemingly leaving Chelsea. I know there's going to be a massive clear out at Chelsea, but with the rumours that continue to escalate and continue to snowball on this Chelsea side and who's going to be leaving, who's going to be coming in, and there's a large majority of numbers that are seemingly leaving, they're going to need to replace them with a number of players. Now, I get that there's no Champions League or Europa League or any kind of European football for that matter, so they are essentially going to be playing, for the most part, one game a week. That means that they could possibly reduce the numbers in their squad for a season and then go hard next season if, of course, they manage to go ahead and get some sort of European football in order to help beef up their squad. So it might make sense in that regard to slim down and cut down the numbers whilst they have the opportunity to do so. Stick with a very strong 11, have a few players in reserve and backup for injuries and suspensions and stuff, but make that team, that squad go hard each and every single game to build up towards obviously where they want to aim for next season, which is back in the top 4 as a bare minimum. So it might make sense in that regard to cut down the squad whilst they have the opportunity to do so. But at the same time, it could also backfire on them if they don't get it right. And of course, we know that they've been linked with a lot of players, as you would expect with a team that has been throwing around a lot of money this past year. And Onana was just another player to add to that long list. And I said it would be a quality signing. I said that this would be a very good signing and a very good Poch-like signing of a goalkeeper, of a modern day goalkeeper to bring into his Chelsea side that obviously Poch likes to play possession football. And Onana, in my opinion, is one of the best in Europe with the ball at his feet, playing constantly, playing out from the back, playing between the lines and trying to start attacks from the back. Risky, yes, but a modern day goalkeeper nonetheless that I thought would very much fit in with the Poch system. Fast forward to today, obviously, the reports are suggesting that Chelsea have ended their pursuit of Onana, and that could clear the way for Manchester United to swoop in. Now, again, I'll reiterate, United's transfer takeover might hinder this. Of course, we don't know how much money there is to spend. Onana's going to cost a big chunk of money, you would imagine, from the Champions League finalists of Inter. That is it going to be seen as maybe we need to go for a cheaper alternative? Is this going to be someone that they think this one could definitely help and we'll have to shift some funds around somewhere along the way? I'm not 100% sure, but the interest is concrete from United. And we know this, and we know that they're after a goalkeeper because obviously there's this David De Gea situation. Now, De Gea is on the verge of leaving Manchester United this summer. He could be on his way out of Old Trafford. He is not a part of the released players list that was revealed this week by United, but he is a player that could be on the verge of leaving should they not manage to resolve his contract situation and should he not obviously get a new deal. There is a new deal on the table. There is a new deal on the table for David De Gea at United. But the rumours are, the whispers are, the reports are that allegedly this deal is going to be reduced pay and reduced playing time. It's being said that he's going to be their backup goalkeeper. Erik ten Hag is going to be looking at a permanent first choice goalkeeper to play from now on, and that De Gea will be used probably in the cup games, sporadic league games that don't mean anything, or when obviously the original goalkeeper is injured or suspended or whatever the case may be. It's a good move. United fans are growing sick and tired of De Gea with his high-profile mistakes. Don't get me wrong. They admire what he's done for the past several years. They understand that he's been their best player for several years prior to Erik ten Hag's arrival. They understand that he has saved them so many points during his time there, been a long and faithful servant to the club, but they feel it is time to move on. They feel it is time for De Gea to move on because he keeps on making these massive clangers in games. He keeps on making these... He'll make like an amazing save in the opening 10 minutes of a game. And then about 10 minutes later, he'll let in the slowest and sloppiest goal you've probably ever seen. It's not ideal. And I get that. And above that as well, there is also the factor of his kicking and the way that he can't really play the ball out from the back as well as other goalkeepers. He's not necessarily a modern day goalkeeper. And maybe for a team that doesn't necessarily play out from the back, maybe a team that goes a bit more direct, maybe more his style and more suited to him. It's becoming obviously a big part of the modern day football that your goalkeeper is essentially your 11th outfield player to play the ball out from the back and be competent with the ball at his feet. If he's not, he doesn't really have a chance in that team. He could be an amazing shot stopper, but if he's not a great shot stopper and good with the ball at his feet. But even now, like I say, David De Gea used to be a good shot stopper, but now he's letting in goals and he's letting in easy ones at that. And it's mad to say that because obviously, as Ballum points out in the chat, he is the Golden Glove winner. So it's kind of bizarre in a way, and it's a very unique situation. But of course, I guess with Golden Gloves and keeping clean sheets, it relies more so on your defense than your goalkeeper in some cases. So maybe that is the case for this one. But yes, very intriguing to obviously see what happens with David De Gea. Very intriguing to see what happens with Andre Onana. I'm very interested to see what happens with the Chelsea goalkeeping situation as well. Like I say, if Onana's now out of the picture and not going to be considered as a Chelsea target, who do they turn their attention to? There were rumours that David Raya could still be on Chelsea's radar. And personally, if I'm a Chelsea fan, he is a solid goalkeeper. He might be a good alternative. Cheaper than Onana, definitely. 40 million apparently on the cards there. So we'll wait and see if that one obviously comes about and comes to fruition. And also, if you're a Chelsea fan, you also get the bonus of really annoying Spurs because they've been pursuing David Raya for the majority of this time between the end of the season and the transfer window opening. They seem to have it pretty much tied up, but could a bid at the 11th hour kind of swoop in, steal him right out of Tottenham's grasp? Maybe. We'll have to wait and see. Like I say, be a cheaper alternative, and like I say, it would also annoy a lot of Spurs fans that their biggest rivals have just come in, swooped in, and taken him right out of their grasp, which would be a little funny from a rival fan and an outside point of view. I don't really care. But it'll be interesting to see how that one goes about its business. Welcome on 400 subscribers progress. Have I practiced for wicked? If that's 400, wicked. Thank you all so much for doing that for me. Like, I know it's not a massive number in terms of YouTube these days, but it still very much means a lot to me that 400 of you have subscribed and at some point liked the content enough to obviously see if you want to come back for more. So that genuinely does make me feel happy, and I genuinely appreciate that. So thank you all so much for helping me get to that milestone, and hopefully we can continue and move on. Let's move on, press forward. If you haven't already, like the video, subscribe if you are new or want to see more content like this. Both things are always incredibly greatly appreciated. So thank you all so much for doing that. Moving on up, moving on out. Where are we going to go next? Nicholas Jackson. Let's go. Nicholas Jackson. 21-year-old Senegalese striker of Villarreal is seemingly on his way to Chelsea Football Club. Sticking with Chelsea, they seemingly have found a striker. Now, of course, we know that Christopher Nkunku is coming through the door this summer at Stamford Bridge. It'll be interesting to see what kind of role he has, whether he's going to play as a number 10 behind the striker, whether he's going to play as a second striker, or whether he's going to be used in rotation with another striker, or whether he's going to be played as a winger. I don't know what the case may be. There's a lot of versatility to Christopher Nkunku that we're going to have to wait and see on in a Chelsea shirt. But it does seem that Chelsea are making headway with finding a new striker in the form of Nicholas Jackson, the 21-year-old midfielder for Villarreal, who this season has made 38 appearances for the Spanish team in all competitions, scoring 13 goals and assisting 5 times. According to David Ornstein last night, Chelsea have agreed terms with Nicholas Jackson and intend to strike a deal with Villarreal, €35 million clause if needed. 21-year-old striker has committed. Plus, Brighton have rejected £60 million for Chelsea target Caicedo. The bid was made 2 weeks ago. Lavia, Kone, Tonali, Barella, among alternatives. That is all from David Ornstein. Very intriguing. It's a very intriguing target. I can't claim to know a great deal about him. I've only watched a couple of games of Villarreal's. I've only seen him maybe once or twice, maybe. And a lot of what I'm going to be talking about with him is going to be through doing research, following scouting reports, maybe some compilations as well. Stuff along those lines. But Fabrizio does follow it up today. He says that Chelsea official bid for Nicholas Jackson will be submitted next week, €35 million to match the release clause. Villarreal are already informed. Installments and payment terms are being discussed, then medical scheduled. Jackson only wants Chelsea despite 3 more bids. So this one seems pretty much done and dusted. Jackson seems to have his heart set out on it. Chelsea are very much wanting this deal to go through and everything. So it does seem like this is happening. This is going to be a done and dusted deal for Chelsea going forward. They're just obviously, like Romano says, they're talking about the structure of the deal. They know the release clause. They're just talking about the structure that satisfies both clubs' desires and wants and needs. And then, of course, it's about getting the final loose ends tied up, including, obviously, a medical. What are Chelsea getting from this? Well, from what I can tell, from the little bits that I've seen, and obviously from the research I've done, it seems that they're going to get a quick and agile striker, good at dropping deep, linking up play, and also good at stretching the opposition. He doesn't mind drifting into the channels. He doesn't mind creating space for the others in the team. He looks to be a very promising player. He looks to be a very agile player, a very good physical presence kind of player that will lead the line for Chelsea for years to come. Like you say, he's 21 years of age, so he's got time to plenty of time to grow and evolve his game. He's still a little rough around the edges in certain aspects of his game, but I'm sure under Pochettino, with his kind of work rate, with his kind of industrial kind of mindset and mentality, and of course with the way that obviously Pochettino is going to be playing or likely to be playing with a kind of high press, quick energy sort of feel to it, I think he's going to bed in very well. And not only that, but at the kind of height and physical stature that he presents himself, he's going to be a physical presence against defenders. He's going to be a physical presence and an aerial asset in terms of attacking the ball in the box from set pieces, or whether it be through defending in his own box from set pieces. This guy looks a decent fit for this Chelsea side. He looks like he's going to fit in very well with the Chelsea side, given his attributes, given his traits and abilities that he showcased for Villarreal across this season. Like I say, he still seems a little rough around the edges, but from what I've seen and from what I've researched, it does seem very intriguing to me, this transfer for the Blues, and it could very well fit in very well with obviously Chelsea. And I think for the price tag as well, 35 million euros, it pretty much works out at about 30 million pounds, give or take. And obviously, given the structure of the deal, it'll probably be less for the first season. It's not a bad move. It's not a bad move. And especially in this day and age, 35 million. Obviously every transfer is somewhat of a risk and obviously somewhat of a gamble. But for 35 million, especially with the money that Chelsea have been throwing around a lot, obviously recently, it's essentially a case of, does that necessarily matter this time around? Not really, in my opinion. Not really, in my opinion. If this doesn't work out, Chelsea move him on. He's still young enough that he'll probably fetch in a pretty big transfer fee in general. So they'll probably make up a fair amount of the original transfer fee back for him. And then obviously Chelsea move on to another kind of target. The only thing I am surprised at is that obviously Chelsea didn't throw money at one of the kind of targets that United are looking at. Osimhen obviously was very much linked to the club. There were maybe one or two others as well. I'm surprised Chelsea didn't, or at least not to the public's knowledge anyway, really go in for one of those types of players that would cost big money. But we'll have to see how this one pans out. And like I said, with Nkunku coming through the door as well, be interesting to see how those two link up, whether it's going to be one in, one out, and then they switch, or whether it's going to be two up front, or whether Nkunku's going to switch position and be versatile like he is. We'll have to wait and see on that one. But it does look very interesting if you're a Chelsea fan going forward. And I think that this might be a very decent signing from the kind of research and things that I've seen of this player. Interesting from Fabrizio Romano, just to finish off. Romano's tweeted very recently, Kalidou Koulibaly and Edouard Mendy's agent, Fali Ramadani, I hope I'm pronouncing that name right. I've probably just absolutely butchered that name. I do apologise. Is expected to bring official proposals from Saudi clubs for both players. Nothing decided yet on players' side, but negotiations will continue. French clubs keep asking for Mendy. Inter still want Koulibaly. So when we talked about Koulibaly previously, it does seem Inter still want him and are possibly in hope of striking a deal, despite obviously Chelsea seemingly ending their pursuit in Onana. But that's interesting. Saudi continue to be involved and to be rumoured to be interested in many of these players. And obviously with Koulibaly seemingly reaching the end of his career, him going to Saudi Arabia possibly wouldn't be the worst decision he makes, especially not financially anyway. But if he wants to go back to Serie A for comfort and for obviously to go back to where he spent most of his career, then that's completely understandable. For Mendy, like I say, it's strange what happened to Mendy because for a time, Mendy was one of the best or better goalkeepers in the division, in the league. And then for whatever reason, this past several months, he's completely fell off a cliff and he's lost his place to Kepa. So I don't know what exactly has gone wrong with Mendy. Maybe some Chelsea fans can tell me for sure. And I know that obviously I have seen his performances drop, but why is that? Why have his performances dropped? And why has he gone from being one of the better goalkeepers in the league and in England's top flight division to somewhat being mediocre at best? It's been a weird sort of drop off for a goalkeeper, especially. That has happened very quickly. You would expect maybe a goalkeeper's drop off to happen over time, like a David De Gea, for example, or even I say Hugo Lloris. Yeah, we can throw Hugo Lloris's name in there, I guess. But Mendy seemed to have happened very, very quickly. I'm just wondering why that may be the case. But yes, interesting stuff if obviously Saudi proposals are to come in for those two players. And I would strongly suspect that Saudi proposals are going to come in for a number of players going forward as well. We definitely haven't heard the last of this Saudi influence in this transfer window. And I would expect a lot more players to go to Saudi Arabia for money purposes, mainly, of course. Going forward, and we'll wait and see on that one. There are still a few players linked, like some Riyad Mahrez, for example, that was linked. Whether that's going to be the case or not going forward, we'll have to wait and see. Nicolas Pepe, I think, was linked very much recently, so we'll have to wait and see on these players. But I think that's a good point to wrap up there. Like I say, we talked about Manchester United striking options. That's going to be very intriguing to look at going forward. There are 5 names that I've mentioned that allegedly are on United's radar, all of which are going to cost big money, maybe with the possible exception of Ollie Watkins. But even so, that's going to still be big money, but maybe not as much in comparison as the other 4 targets. Whether there is actually genuine truth and legitimacy behind the interest in Ollie Watkins remains to be seen, of course. I'd love to know your thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions on that one, because I think that could make for interesting reading on United's striking options for next season, especially given the fact that Rashford works better on the left than as a striker. Weghorst works hard, but his finishing is abysmal. And Martial can't stay fit for longer than 5 games. And even when he does, it takes him about 4 of those games to really get back into some form. So it's worthless and pointless, to be honest. But yeah, that could make for interesting reading. What do you make of Chelsea's goalkeeper situation? The Andre Onana news that allegedly Chelsea have backed out of that race, and maybe, just maybe, the runway is clear for United to have a clear run at this potential target. That could make for interesting reading as well. And of course, Nicholas Jackson as well. I'd love to know your thoughts, your comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, on any of these stories that I talked about in this video in the comment section. Do feel free to get involved still down there. Otherwise, hit that like button on the way up, enjoy the video, subscribe if you're new or want to see more content like this. Both things always and forever be greatly appreciated. Thank you all so much for coming along, watching, and getting involved as well. All been great to interact, to see you all, and obviously to talk. Been great. Otherwise, like I say, have a great rest of your Saturday afternoon. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks video. Thank you all so much for watching and listening, and I'll see you all again soon. in another video, live stream, or whatever the hell it may be.